Hey everyone, welcome back to Pick Six, the NFL betting preview show out of the Fair Football Podcast. My name is Ollie and I'm joined by my co-host Liam as always. And we are delighted to be joined by Connor Allen of 4 for 4 Bets and director of BetSperts. Connor, how are things going?
Good. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a minute, but coming off of a good year, it's been a lot of fun. Some certainly unique days of NFL upon us, and it should be a great slate of games coming up.
It really should. We had a bit of a mixed week last week. I think near enough sort of broke even, but it was a low scoring week. So hopefully we get a few more exciting games this time out. I will kick us off with the picks as I let Liam go first last week. And first up, I'm taking the over in Chiefs versus Texans. And I know these are two elite defenses, but I just can't really believe the line's this low. Obviously, neither offense set the world alight in the regular season, and the Chiefs were more sort of death by a thousand cuts. And this Texans defense ranked top six, seven in EPA per play, Chiefs top 10. But they both averaged around 45 points per game between them. And it's just not a lot of points to cover, especially in a playoff game. I would expect also the Texans to be relatively pass heavy. Don't think it's going to be a Joe Mixon kind of game. So, yeah, I think the Texans will probably actually backdoor cover this one as well. I believe the spread is 8.5 points. That's just sort of a side opinion putting out there, not actually a pick. I think it's going to finish sort of in the range of 24 to 21, something like that. So, yeah, give me the over in Chiefs Texans. Sorry, Connor, do you want to go on?
Oh yeah, sorry there. Yeah, no, it's funny because that was actually one that I had written down. But so in the sake of not having the exact plays, I'm gonna go with Texans team total over 16 and a half. I know it's a little scary, but I think at this point we're looking at minus 105, a couple different spots here. The Chiefs are getting healthier, but I do think that the Texans go pass heavy here, which is just good for output in general. We're looking at a spot where last week they had one of their pass heaviest rates, of the season. It was around 71 or 73% on early downs, which was really good to see. And then the last time that they played the Chiefs, they played him pretty well. They played him close. They also went pass heavy. So it was like 73% or 71% in that last game in that last matchup there. So yeah, I'll go with Texans team total over 16 and a half.
Yeah, wouldn't mind that one coming in either. I've got the Texans and the points here, 8.5. Um, Few numbers that did sort of catch my eye. Just sort of historic numbers. They're sort of going back to 2002 here that I saw. Teams averaging under, sorry, home teams averaging under 27 points per game in the divisional round. 7 and 35 and 2 against the spread. Which is a pretty hefty number, obviously in favor of the Texans there. Chiefs just averaging 22.7 points this season. And then we've got the road on the road underdog, sorry, in that little space between 3.5 and 9.5, 26, 17, and 1 against the spread. Um, as I said, those numbers go towards certainly lean towards Houston covering this 8.5 as they did in the it wasn't the Christmas Day game, was it? I think it was the game just before.
Yeah.
Um, my only worry is obviously Mahomes has an exceptional record in the divisional round. He is 6-0 with I think I saw 16 touchdowns and has not turned the ball over. But I mean, hopefully, he doesn't need to turn the ball over. Texans just keep this one close, cover that 8.5.
Very nice. We're all sort of quite high on the Texans then, which is an interesting one against the number one seed, the Chiefs. But I will take it to another team playing against the number one seed. I'm taking the Commanders plus the 9.5. And this may be a stupid pick because we know what the Lions are capable of. They can blow any team away at will. But the Commanders have played virtually everyone extremely close this season. The last five games have all been decided on the last play of the game, less than 7 points, and they've won them all. The only one they lost, the only game that they've lost this year by more than one score was the week one matchup against the Bucks. Um, Obviously, since then they got into their groove and really turned things around. I think the main thing that concerns me is that if Gibbs is firing and if Montgomery is back and able to manage sort of 8 to 10 carries, if they get going against this run defense, which is allowed a lot of yards this year, the Lions could sort of just sustain the long drives, force the Commanders to throw a lot. And yeah, I think Bobby Wagner is in practice, and I think Quinn said he's going to play. So that is good in that sense. But I do think the Lions will probably progress here, but I'm not entirely sure it's going to be a blowout. And 9.5 felt like way too much. And Liam, sort of similar to your stat, I've got since 2001, number one seeds are 17 and 27 against the spread in the divisional round.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
Yeah, that's not good. I kind of like it's interesting. I'm not necessarily going against you, but I do think the Lions score a lot of points. I think that we do see the Commanders keep up to some extent, but I really see the Lions, laying it on them here. So I like my next pick would be an alt line on Lions team total. You can get over 34.5 is like plus 130. Obviously it's 5 touchdowns. But I don't think this is too bad of a look here. You mentioned the run defense there for this Commanders team. Per next gen stats, the Lions gained 1,800 yards on designed runs from under center, 400 more than the next closest team. And against under center designed runs, Commanders defense, most yards before contact per carry at 1.8, highest success rate allowed, second highest explosive run rate at like 13%. Obviously, that is very, very problematic against Jahmyr Gibbs, against David Montgomery. So I think that we're going to see, this Lions team run a ton and score plenty. Now the question is, can the Commanders keep up? I mean, 10 is a pretty, 9.5 is a pretty big threshold. So I think that we can both win this one.
Yeah, I'll keep it in that game. And yeah, sort of again, all on the same page. I was sort of scrolling through on this game. I was leaning towards taking the Commanders. They do sort of remind me of the Bengals from a couple of years ago, just getting games won, even when it looks like they're out of it. I mean, the amount of sort of like last second plays they've done this season to win games is pretty crazy. But I've gone one here. It's even money. It's both teams to score a touchdown each half. So obviously, yeah, as that said, Lions and Commanders could be 7-7 at half time and then end 14-14. Highly doubtful, but yeah, that would be a winner for the bet. I think both teams are going to come out hot. Don't think there's going to be any sloppiness from Detroit. Just can't see that from a Dan Campbell team. And I think the Commanders, as they've sort of done all season, come on late, maybe keep this thing close, keep it interesting, so it doesn't have to fly over the high total that it is, 56.5. But yeah, thought this was probably the best value I could get out this game. So even money, both teams to score a touchdown each half.
I like it. I'm a fan. I will finish off my game props with. Now, I just struggle a little bit for something in this game. Taking a prop in Bills Ravens. I'm taking over 10 points in the first quarter. I have a player prop later on in this one, but 10 here doesn't feel like too many, considering that the Broncos started very fast last weekend, obviously put up 7 on the first drive, and both these teams do average over 5 points in the first quarter. And Buffalo actually allows the 10th most points in the first quarter in the entire league in the regular season. Baltimore, obviously, this defense has just absolutely skyrocketed since around week 11, 12. They're now top of EPA per play on drop back EPA, and I think they're top 4 or 5 on rush EPA. Just been an absolute machine since. I'm not really in the favor of picking a side in this game. I'm just going to sort of sit back and enjoy it, but I do think we are going to get points. And yeah, this is the sort of my punt pick of the week, but I'm happy to also take the push if there's just a touchdown and a field goal. But just feels like this game's going to be points. So over 10 points first quarter, Buffalo versus Baltimore, which is at even money.
Nice. That's a fun one. I'm struggling with that game as well. I think that I originally leaned Buffalo, shifted to Baltimore after doing a little bit more of a deep dive, but not one of my favorite bets on the side there. So I'm gonna go to Philly minus 5.5 or 6, I think is fine too. I'm a big fan of this Eagles team here. We saw their defense shift in week 5. Play a little bit more Cooper DeJean, make some changes in the secondary. Since then, they played significantly better. That included a massive win over the Rams earlier in the season. And we have, I think, just a big mismatch here between this Eagles running game and the Rams run defense. Saquon just absolutely crushed them last year or earlier this season in their last game. And I think that probably continues, which opens up a ton for Jalen Hurts in the passing game. Hurts hasn't really been all that good this season, but with the running game and allowing that to work function a little bit better, I think that we're going to see this Eagles team lay a number on them. And on the other side, I'm not sure that the Rams offense has too much success, even though they've played well, even though they looked awesome against the Vikings. I think that this Eagles defense is the real deal and allows them to win by a touchdown plus. So give me the Eagles at -5.5.
Yeah, I'm going to join you there, Connor. I was and ahhing on that game. Um, Something about laying six with the Rams just seems. Oh, sorry, taking 6 points with the Rams does seem nice. Obviously, with the quality they've got, but yeah, although the Eagles didn't wow me against Green Bay, I mean, I thought that I don't know what you guys thought, but the fumble on the opening kickoff, I thought that should have been overturned. I thought that was clearly Packers' ball.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think looking at their earlier matchup in the season, just I think the Eagles are going to be just too physical here. Obviously, it helps that it is in Philadelphia. Rams obviously traveling cross country on a shorter week. I think they play Monday night. Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah, short week. I mean, it's only a day, but a shorter week. Though, as you said, they did play well against the Vikings. 10 penalties for 95 yards. Can't be doing that against a team like the Eagles. I do think the Eagles will get ahead. The Rams will have to go away from the running game. Eagles will then play to their strength and use their running game. And yeah, I think this one will just run away from LA slightly. So yeah, I'll take the Eagles -5.5 as well.
Nice. All right then. Player props or player props to come. Game props are done. I will start with Chiefs Texans prop. I'm going to take Isaiah Pacheco over 41.5 rushing yards at 2023. So this line is moving. I believe it opened at around 35.5. So it is moving and it could go a little bit higher than this. The Texans, obviously, as I mentioned before, their pass defense was very good this year. It was elite. Sometimes they did struggle against the run, though. Pacheco only did have 26 yards in the Week 16 matchup as well. But he's had a rest since then. Chiefs should be ready to give him a lot more of the work. I don't think we're going to see Kareem Hunt getting loads of touch in the backfield. They are also favored by a touchdown, as we said before, which usually leads to sort of a more run-heavy game script. The longer drives the Chiefs can sort of sustain with every play just seems to go for 5 yards. Then it's 3rd and 1, and they just convert. This is more just sort of a pick of how I believe the game will play out. And I do think that this line is a little bit low for a player of Pacheco's quality. We've seen him really shine in the playoffs before. He's had some absolute monster games. So, yeah, since week 6, Houston have allowed a 40-yard rusher in 10 out of their 11 games. It's really not a high line. Similar, it's actually 41.5 is the same as the total. I'm taking the over on Pacheco over 41.5 rushing yards.
Nice. I keep going back and forth on what they're going to do here. Andy Reid said earlier that they're probably going to keep the running back rotation the same, but he kind of was like pretty non-committal about it. So
Mm.
I definitely would lean over on Pacheco. I know there were some early numbers that were out like in the 37, 38 range. Those are really nice. I think the low 40s are still probably a solid look. So that's a fun one for sure. I'm gonna go with CJ Stroud. I'll keep it in the same game over 33.5 pass attempts. He threw 33 attempts last week, but just 3 passes last week after 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Game was obviously crazy out of hand with the Texans defense playing so well and the Chargers way behind. It's worth noting though, they we mentioned they increased their drop back rate in this last game in the playoffs, as well as against the Chiefs. Their coaching staff this week said we need to emphasize the quick game. We need to get the ball out quicker and make sure we get guys into space quick. So without Bobby Slowick just making them run on first and second down every drive, Mixon banged up DNP today or DNP on Thursday. And then was limited on Wednesday. So, I mean, I think he's going to play, but again, they're probably not jamming Mixon 20 plus times. So I think that we're going to see here the Texans try and throw the ball a lot, maybe not successfully, but try and throw the ball a lot against this Kansas City defense here, especially with their run defense, Chris Jones back as well. So give me CJ Stroud over 33.5, and I would even play 34.5 pass attempts.
Very nice. I will, yeah, might as well keep it in that game. I've got one. I've got the opposing quarterback there. I've gone Patrick Mahomes over 23 and a half rushing yards. Um, it's been a makeshift O-line all season for Kansas City. I think we're going to get Joe Tooney playing at tackle. Um, I think it was back in week two, Trey Hendrickson, I think whoever the left tackle was for the Chiefs that started, I can't remember the name. I think he was a rookie, got pulled from that game, and I'm not sure if we've seen him since. So yeah, it's certainly a makeshift O line, not one of their best that they're coming into the playoffs with. Um, and I mean, Houston's defensive line's got some young, very talented players on there. Will Anderson, for example, was one of them. But I mean, if you're watching the playoffs and watching close games that the Chiefs are in, you see Mahomes making plays with his legs so many times. As I said, yeah, especially in the playoffs as well, when every yard counts. And yeah, I can see this sort of happening. Maybe burst out a couple third and longs, he gets it, and that's your 24 yards that you need. So yeah, I will go with Patrick Mahomes over 23.5 rush yards.
Nice. That's a pretty fun one. And Mahomes, there's that great tweet that says he's always like 0.1 second faster than the person chasing him because he just never seems to get caught up on those third and long runs. He manages to go on. Next up, I'm going back to the well with the over 1.5 passing touchdowns prop. Taking Lamar Jackson here. We're getting 5 to 6. I mean, to me, this is just sort of crazy because he had two versus the Bills earlier in the year, and he's now on a streak of 2+7 games in a row. And in fact, since week four, he has had 2+ passing touchdowns in 13 out of 15 games. At these odds, I'm happy to take it. During the regular season, from week nine onwards, Bills gave up over 1.5 passing touchdowns in 7 of 9 games. And in one of those games they didn't, it was against Joe Milton. And I think he had one really amazing touchdown brought back. Obviously, it was massively holding. But yeah, like I said before, I'm not calling the outcome of this one, but I do think we will see a lot of points. And yeah, just give me Lamar over 1.5 passing touchdowns, 5 to 6 just seems pretty good to me.
Nice. Yeah, the game could be super fun. I'm super excited for that one. I'm gonna go with Jared Goff under 33 and a half pass attempts. I would not play yards. I would play 32 and a half pass attempts. Average is 31.7 on the year. His median is just 30 though. Runs into, again, we talked about, I think they're going to run the ball a ton. I think they have a ton of success doing that. And they're going to stick to that. David Montgomery was a full participant in practice, not only on Wednesday, Tuesday as well, first time of the week, which is crazy how far he's come in just a couple of weeks from an injury that we thought could be season ending. But I expect him to receive, I don't know, maybe 75% of his usual workload and have a ton of success running the ball on the ground here. So beyond this, I think the Commanders are a little beat up in their front seven. Linebacker Bobby Wagner is a little bit beat up. Defensive tackle Deron Payne also limited with a finger injury. So beyond that, Goff only has 34 plus attempts in 6 games this season. Then the 6 games included their 2 losses. And 3 of them were one-score wins, and then a win over the Colts, where the offense played pretty poorly and just like couldn't really run it or pass it efficiently. And I don't really expect this game to fall in any of those buckets. Like, I think maybe it's close, but again, it's going to be probably a run-centric approach here for the Lions team. So I don't expect a ton of attempts from Goff, but when he does pass it, I think he'll be pretty efficient.
Very nice. I'll go back to the game you picked just then, Ollie. I will take a running back. I'm going to go Derek Henry. Is over. I mean, it's 95 and a half, which is extremely high, but I mean, for guys like him and Saquon, I feel like 100 yards are sort of nothing. Um, Obviously, he had the game in week four, 199 yards. I think on the first drive, he broke for like an 80-yard touchdown. The Bills are undersized in their front seven. Now they didn't have Matt Milano in that matchup, and obviously he's a phenomenal linebacker. But I mean, he's also only one guy, and Derek Henry is still bigger than him. So yeah, taking here 95 and a half yards. I mean, yeah, I can't really see it how the Ravens turn to a passing game. Not sure on the exact health of Zay Flowers. I know he missed last week's game, but yeah, pretty confident here in Derek Henry getting the ball to him. Bills, as you saw, I think um, presume you saw the picture from the Steelers game where the Steelers had like three guys on Lamar and Derrick Henry just had a straight straight gap on Patrick Green. It was pretty brutal. But yeah, I mean, hopefully the Bills take the same approach to stop Lamar, so we get a Derrick Henry game again. But yeah, I'll take over 95.5 yards for Derrick Henry.
Well, you mentioned the man who is going to be my next prop. I'm taking Saquon Barkley. We're taking his rushing attempts this time over 20 and a half at minus 120, minus 125, 4 to 5, whatever you want. The Eagles do run the ball obviously more than anyone else in the league. 36 rush attempts per game, and Saquon obviously has the brunt of those, as well as Jalen Hurts getting sort of 7, 8 carries a game, sprinkling some Kenneth Gainwell. Saquon's gone over this total in 6 of his last 8, including 25 in the wildcard round. I do think the Eagles will win this game, as you both picked them, um, but they will obviously try and control the time of possession. As mentioned in the previous episode that we had, they are top of the league for time of possession. Rams only in 23rd. I think they are going to end up throwing the ball a fair bit. And the Eagles sort of DBs have had, as Con mentioned, a bit of a renaissance since week 5, since Cooper DeJean came in. I mean, Saquon has 85 rush attempts in his last 3 games, which I believe my maths is not great, but that's 28, I think, per game. So honestly, I would play this up to a few more if it changes. But yeah, Saquon over 20.5 rush attempts at minus 125.
Yeah, I think they might just feed Saquon. It's like going to be probably just a heavy dose of that, and I don't blame them. I mean, they had a ton of success doing it before. My next one here is going to be another under Zach Ertz under 30 and a half receiving yards. 29 and a half is fine as well. Tough matchup against Detroit. I think Detroit's going to play very aggressively on defense, ton of man coverage. They played 55% in week 18. We saw Darnold and the Vikings struggle against them a little bit, but I mean, Ertz specifically, he's old. He can't separate against man coverage. He just has a 15% target per out run, 0.9 yards per out run. He's been way, way better against zone. And a lot of this, I think the Lions have Alex Anzalone back, which has made a big difference in defending tight ends. With Anzalone, Detroit allowing just 5.9 yards per target. Without him, Detroit has allowed 8.7 yards per target to tight ends. So the last time we saw Ertz play another team that plays as much man as the Lions do, and they're at third, which is Cleveland. Ertz caught just 2 of 8 targets for 10 yards. So I think in this one, you'll probably see fewer than 8 targets. If he does, I don't think they're going to be very efficient. Again, like he can just basically sit in between zones and catch the ball and fall down. Against man coverage, he's not getting open. So I think the under here is a pretty good look.
That sets me up perfectly for my final pick. Um, Fun one here. We're sort of running out of options. Saw this line and was like, why the hell not? It's John Bates, who's the backup for the Commanders, tight end, backup to Zach Ertz. His receiving line, it's over 0.5. He's had five targets in his last 6 games. 3 of them have been catches that sort of won across each game. Let's get him a catch in the playoffs. His last 4 games, he's had a target in each. There was one, I think. I know. I think he didn't have one against the Cowboys. I think when they rested a few players. But yeah, I
Love
don't
it.
really know. I don't really have any numbers to back me up here. But yeah, as we've mentioned, Lions could get in front here. Commanders be throwing the ball, and yeah, let's just get people on the field. John Bates over 0.5 receiving yards.
All it
I
takes is
mean,
one.
yeah,
Exactly.
I've
Is
just
that, is
Googled John. I've just Googled John Bates, and the first page is a Downton Abbey Wikipedia page. So
it-
I guess we'll see on that one. But
I
yeah,
think his
I'm
name's
I'm
John Bates. Yeah, it is John
yeah,
Bates.
it
Yeah,
is. Yeah,
out of
We
Boise State.
yeah.
to back you up there, we haven't projected for 6.9 yards. So I mean,
Well,
that
There
seems like
you
a pretty
go.
good gap to me. Yeah.
That's like 3 catches for him. So yeah.
all right, very nice. We will just go through the picks again, just so we've got them all in one place. I'll go through mine first. Got the Chiefs Texans over of 41.5, Commanders plus 9.5, Bills Ravens first quarter over 10 points. Then we got Pacheco over 41.5 rushing yards, Lamar Jackson over 1.5 passing touchdowns, and Saquon over 20.5 rushing attempts.
Awesome. My 6 here, Philly -5.5, Houston over 16.5, Detroit team total over 34.5, Goff under 33.5 pass attempts, Ertz under 30.5 receiving yards, and CJ Stroud over 33.5 or 34.5 pass attempts.
Lovely. I went Texans plus 8.5, Eagles minus 5.5. Sorry, Ollie, mate. This is going to be a nightmare on the graphic, but the both to score one touchdown each half, Lions and Commanders. Player props Mahomes over 23.5 rushing yards, Derrick Henry over 95.5 rushing yards, and John Bates over 0.5 receiving yards.
Can confirm it is a nightmare for the graphic. I'm trying to do it now, and it's not looking good. Um, Gentlemen, thank you both very much for joining me. Connor, pleasure having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Talk soon.
Great stuff. Everyone else, thank you for listening, and catch you in the next one.